you don't just shame them when you see them in the community, you shame their family. Because that's what brings about good behavior. Anybody here have kids? What happens when you reward bad behavior? Well, you get a lot more of it, don't you? So you have to shame bad behavior and you have to reward good behavior, don't you? Do you think Congress is any different? Do you think our elected officials are any different? When you reward bad behavior by not showing up, by not saying anything, by voting for the bum again, all you're doing is rewarding bad behavior. And you're going to get more of the same. Stop it. Stop rewarding bad behavior. You have to start using the tool of shame for bad behavior, because that's the only thing that brings about good behavior. And if you can't change the behavior with shame, you change the person in the position. It's that simple. We the people are the supreme authority over the supreme law of the land, which is the Constitution. So, any questions, concerns, comments, criticism? You can see why this is one of my favorite classes. And I apologize that the rest of it isn't there. I'll fix that. I'll get that fixed. Because this whole thing goes through constant revision all the time. Constant revision. Just like your study of the Constitution and the history of the Federalist Papers should be a constant thing. It should be something that you're studying all the time. Go ahead.
I'd like to read something if you could elaborate on it.
Go ahead.
This book.
What book is it first?
It's called Ubuntu Contributism.
What's that?
Ubuntu Contributism.
Okay, and who's the author?
Michael Tellinger.
Okay.
Have you heard of him?
No, go ahead.
Okay. It says the USA is not free or a sovereign nation as proclaimed by the federal government. If this were true, the USA, just like virtually all other countries, would not be dictated by the Crown Temple through its bankers and attorneys. USA is controlled and manipulated by private foreign power, and it is unlawful. Federal government is their pawnbroker. The banks or the banking elite rule the temple church, and the attorneys carry out their orders by controlling their victims' judiciary. It's a perfect plan for a perfect crime that has been executed meticulously since the building of the temple in 1185 without too many questions being asked until now. The private Federal Reserve System, which issues the fiat U.S. Federal Reserve notes, is financially owned and controlled by the Crown from Switzerland, which is the home and legal origin for the charters of the United Nations, the International Monetary Fund, the World Trade Organization, and most importantly, the Bank of International Settlements. Even Hitler respected the Crown bankers by not bombing Switzerland. The Bank of International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, controls all the central banks of the G7 nations and far beyond. He who controls the gold rules the world.
Yeah. Now, that's not wrong. Here's the problem. The way that's written, it's written like there was a group of people in a secret smoke-filled room with a secret handshake that come up with the whole thing, and it's their plot over a century and a half that they've done. This is where they bring in the, conspiracy theorist. Oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's what they use to marginalize anybody that knows the truth. The fact of the matter is, this is self-evident truth. This is the natural nature of man. This is the sinful nature of man. So when you understand human nature and how it works, you understand how we got to that point. Because we, the people, have not paid enough attention. We got talked into the 16th Amendment, which was the central bank. That was all decided by a few very rich people to bring about a central bank, but it wasn't the first central bank we had. We had a central bank before. Andrew Jackson crushed it. because he understood the danger of it. See, even Rothschild himself said, I care not who controls the law. He who controls the money controls the nation. We were stupid. We the people are the supreme authority. But because we did not know our history and because we did not know the principles of the founding, we sat by and we allowed stupid things to happen to us because of natural law, because of self-evident truth, because of the natural nature of man. See, our founders understood the natural nature of man, and they knew where things would go if they didn't put natural law checks and balances in the Constitution. But what have we done since 1913? We've done everything we can to strip God's law, natural law remedy, out of the Constitution for what? Man's law. See, I got a problem with this going on in Hillsdale right now. We've got good Christians that believe man's law is better than morality, better than God's law. See, there's a big thing. Morality, if you're a Christian, should take precedent over any law that man writes, right? Morality. We say we believe in it, but if I say that I'm a zebra, but I don't look like one, and I don't act like one, am I a zebra? No, I'm a person with a mental disorder. So do you see where this is all going? So this is the spiritual fight that's been going on since the garden. It's just we're now starting to see it into the physical world. Now this isn't any different than what happened to the Republic in Rome, right? When the people had more time on their hands and they were able to keep more of their labor and they could take a vacation to the Med, they were more than happy to pay Caesar to do the things that they had a duty themselves to do. And what happened? When you give power up, power can't be taken, it has to be given. And when you give that power, and then someday you realize that you shouldn't have given that power up, what do you have to do to get it back? No, you can't take it. You can't take power. They have to give it back. Now, if they don't want to give it back, you have to put them in a situation where the consequence is bad enough that they want to give power back, right? That's never a good scenario for anyone. So the best thing you should do is be a good master of the law and don't give that power up. Understand the principles and live by them. Why does it say in the Constitution that the only legal money and the only one of the enumerated powers for government is the coinage of money, of gold and silver? Why? Do the central bankers control how much gold and silver is on the earth? Nope. It's natural law. It's God's law. So do you see how we took that natural law out of there for fiat money, paper money, by a central bank where man can control the amount? And what is it doing to people? Inflation is the way that you steal from people without them even knowing that they're being robbed. And who controls the amount of money? God? No, man does. You think our founders didn't understand that when they said, the only power Congress has is the coinage of money. And that's the only thing that's supposed to be paid for, to pay our debts. In fact, Michigan violates the Constitution because it says that the only thing that, in our Constitution, the only thing Michigan can take is gold and silver for the payment of anything. But yet, I just paid my property taxes with paper. I didn't even pay it with paper. I paid it with electronic numbers. And they accepted it. And it's not based on gold or silver. So you see, they don't even follow their own rules and Constitution, And what do? Oh, you can't fight City Hall. Yeah, why can't I? You know, I'm a very hated person places because I speak the truth. The truth is not going to make you popular, ever. Ever. So you better grow a thick skin. I don't care what people say about me if they're not sitting around my kitchen table. I learned that a long time ago. The only people I care about their opinion is the people sitting around my kitchen table. If they're not there, I could care less what their opinion is. Still going to speak the truth. So yeah, what he just wrote there is true. The problem is it's not some secret conspiracy. It's the natural nature of man. The original sin. What was the original sin? Anybody know what the original sin was? Who committed the original sin?
Lucifer.
Lucifer. And what was that sin? He lusted for the power of God. That was the original sin. That got him cast out of heaven with all of his followers. So what was the sin that Eve committed? I know I ask a lot of pastors this and they go, oh, well, the sin she committed was a sin of disobedience. No, Pastor, you only say that because you've got a 501c3 meeting house where you have your franchise of religion, and it's all about getting butts in the seats. It wasn't disobedience. That was a secondary crime. What did the serpent tell her? Surely you won't die if you eat of that fruit. You'll just have the knowledge of God. He doesn't want you to have that. So what did he do? He imposed upon her that lust of power, because knowledge is power, isn't it? So the sin she committed was the sin in her heart, was the lust of power. When she did the action, then it was the sin of disobedience. But the first sin had to happen in the heart first, didn't it? The sin for the lust of power of God. Why does it say in 1 Timothy that the love of money is the root of all evil? See, I hear secularists all the time go, well, them Christians believe that money is evil. No, money is not evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. Because the love, which is lust, of money, which represents power, the lust of power is the root of all evil because it was the original sin. Tell me what that whole passage you read falls on. Is it the lust of power? Yeah, so that is the original sin. So are we shocked? Why should we be shocked? It wasn't some grand conspiracy. It's the natural nature of man because it was the sin Eve committed in the garden. Because it was the original sin committed by Lucifer. The lust for power is always bad. It always leads to death and destruction. Because it's not godly. It's satanic. Are we clear on that? All right, so, but when I say that, notice I don't make a lot of friends when I say that.
Here's a list of companies in capital letters here. And it says, take note that the names of the corporations are written in capital letters. This is also the case in your birth certificate.
I think I said
find
that.
out if this applies to
I think I said that.
in the United States.
Did I say that here?
Birth certificate, driver's license, passport ID, and official other documents. All official correspondence we receive displays our names in capitals, indicating that it is an address to the corporation's calls. Official tombstones follow the same rules. This is not by accident, but because of what I highlighted before regarding newborn babies becoming juristic persons and legal fictions the moment a birth certificate is signed. The government and all their corporate subsidiaries that operate under the authority of the government see people as little corporations or legal fictions or juristic persons.
Actually, we're stock.
Okay.
We're chattel. And that all happened on Jekyll Island, right? That little number on your birth certificate is a stock certificate number.
Yeah.
You were sold into slavery to the central banks so that the government could borrow, and then a certain portion of your labor would go to them to pay off just the interest and never the capital.
Yep.
Do you know that the church used to keep record of the births and your name? That's why people go, what's your Christian name? Remember that? Anybody remember that? What's your Christian name? Because your name was kept in script in the church document, in the church logs. Where in Article 1, Section 8, Clauses 1 through 18 did it give government the ability to then start collecting the birth and registering the name of a birth? That happened with the birth certificate.
And they said this comes out in a British, since I can't pronounce it, Act of 1666.
Mm-hmm.
Is that accurate?
Well, why do you think it's called the bar?
Yeah.
Esquires. Esquire is a royal title. And the bar stands for the British Accredited Registry. So who licenses lawyers in this country? Themselves. Themselves. Think about that. Now also think about this. All the rest of us can only be in 2 branches of government. Any lawyers in the audience? Any? Okay, that means everybody in this audience, you can only be in 2 branches of government ever. How many branches of government are there? 3. Well, there's 3. But there's one subset class of citizens in the United States that can be in all 3 branches of government. What are they?
Lawyers.
Esquires. Anybody that's passed the British Accredited Registry. They can be in the legislative, they can be in the executive, and they can be in the judicial. And they're the only ones that can be in the judicial. You see a problem? Yeah. Go ahead.
When was that enacted that only lawyers could be?
Well, you needed to have people. It even says in the Federalist Papers that that the judiciary has a peculiar requirement, and that is that someone should be a law scholar. It didn't say that they should have a British accredited registry. So what used to happen is people used to go and study the law. In fact, Madison himself was only a lawyer because he apprenticed for someone long enough, and then that person said, yes, they have the requisite skills to be a lawyer. That's the way it used to be done. And then later on, it was done by colleges under the free market, where you'd go to law school with a college, and if that college gave you a Juris Doctorate degree, then that was it. So any colleges that had Juris Doctorates that were horrible lawyers, people didn't want to send their kids there. And any colleges that produced great minds that were Juris Doctorates, of course, people wanted to send their kids there. So it was controlled by the free market. That's the way it used to be done. Why isn't it now? Well, because the progressives, right? You think the progressives are theological? You think they're theists, or you think they're anti-theists? Right? That's the difference between republic and democracy, plain and simple. If you want to know the difference between republic or democracy, it's the difference between theism, being republic, and atheism, being democracy. That's the difference between moral law and standards and amoral law and standards. That's the difference, plain and simple. So you can see why I get really upset when people go, our democracy, the democracy of America, they're a danger to our democracy. Thank God, yes. Let's get back to a republic that we're supposed to be. Yeah, I like anybody that's a danger to the democracy, because democracies have always been incompatible with liberty. They've always been as tumultuous in their lives as they have been violent in their deaths. They're horrible forms of government. So yes, death to the democracy. Life to the republic. 100%. Because it's the difference between atheism and theism. I will not accept atheism. So, are there any other questions?